3, 4. Ba, ba, ba. All right, greetings from the survival pod out here in the wasteland. This is Freedom Phil, and what's the topic today? Well, I just thought I'd do a quick little upload of why are the public schools marching out kids into the streets to be human shields in these protests? What does that have to do with education? I don't think the public school system has been about education in ages. And what I want to do in this video is just kind of go over my thoughts on this. Yeah, Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Let's get into it. Turn up the video speed. All right. I'm not disappointed because that would imply that I actually believe that these people ever have the best interest of your children at hand. You know, I see an education system that, you have kids that get out of a K through 12 education system after 13 years, K through 12, 13 years. And they're good enough to do what? Flip hamburgers, stock dollar store shelves. You got a lot of kids that literally are less educated than someone who walks across the border. I'm not kidding when I say that. You got kids that can't do math. Like, math proficiency is at 0 in some of these places. Reading is like 25, 20. It's in the 20s, for God's sakes. And you know why a lot of these kids can only read that level? Because that's all they need to read something on their smartphone, on whatever app. They've been basically the line from the Marilyn Manson song, where it's like, raised to be stupid, taught to be nothing at all. These teachers have got paid. They have failed upward. How many decades of the teachers' unions have basically put people in, like, they got a pension and they got this and that. The children are our future. When Democrats say the children are our future, you know why? Because they think of us as the next group of foot soldiers to be protesters. Your kids are uneducated. It is not an education system. It is an uneducated education system. You would be better off teaching your kid at home. And meanwhile, as I've said many times before, like at the state I grew up in, it's at least 15 grand per student per year. It's actually probably more like 17, but that's not the point. 15 grand per student per year times 13 years. If you took that much money and put it in the S&P and left it there for 30 years, there'd be quite the nice retirement. And yet, what results are we seeing from this public education system? They care so much about your children that, much like child soldiers in Africa, which everybody thought was an abominable thing the moment we heard from it, using children as soldiers. What do you call marching out a bunch of children out of public school to go out and protest? And I don't even blame the kids. Shit, the public school system's like a cubicle style, prison system to some degree. It's not about, performance. It's about conformance. Where basically your kids are stuck in this box for X amount of hours a day with a teacher that some of them may care, but a lot of them just don't. And they're just writing this. They got their tenure. They're not getting fired. And their objective at this point is just to get to the point where they get that sweet, sweet retirement. But were the children actually educated? Look at the math rates. Look at the science. Look, the science. You talk about some shit on TV. I've seen Star Trek. These kids are uneducated on purpose. So they'll make good activists, good protesters, and people that are weak, needy, and begging for crumbs. The Democrats come along after they spent how many years uneducating you, and what do? What do they do with you? Well, we got this handout for this, or let's give you college money. They failed you through. You failed this many classes throughout the course of your life. Then you graduate from high school. People can barely read, don't know how to do mathematics. Let's send you to college. They groomed you to go to college, no different than some propaganda in America would groom people to go into the military. At least at the military, you might get some skills and some VA healthcare. What the fuck do you get from the K through 12 education system? You got a handful of kids that are really intelligent and a lot of people that are kind of middle of the road average. But you got a sea of dumb motherfuckers. And they got to actually, to bump their numbers up, they take your intelligent kids, force them to be in a class with a bunch of dummies, which then lowers their education abilities. And they use their high numbers to raise up all the dummies. If we really cared about children, we'd reward performance, but we don't. People are like, what's the solution? Because Lord knows, if these teachers really care about these children, why are they marching them out on the streets? Well, it's not that system. They care so much about the future that they're going to use kids as human shields. No different than these jackass protester parents. And notice it's always about the time that the Democrats are getting caught. They reveal some scam, another scam, God knows how many other scams, and the more scams that get revealed by the undercover media, the media sources that are not the lamestream legacy media, amazingly, all these protesters show up. But it seemed about the same time that Donald Trump had a conversation with Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, then the police started doing their jobs. Isn't that fucked up? The police were supposed to break these people. You saw people going around, breaking windows, lighting things on fire, running amok, causing all these problems, getting in the way of ICE actually taking out fucking PDF files, gang members, rapists, murderers. And some people that, frankly, you just overstayed your stay for way too long. You've known you were supposed to be out of here ages ago. It's like the bar closed at 2 o'clock 5 days ago, and you're still hanging out like, hey, what the fuck, man? Why do you want me to leave? Just being real about this. Just being real. And by the way, you like what I'm doing, hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'm just doing a quick upload like this to get the points. Sometimes I do the long ones, and the long ones really eat up the data, but what the hell? Occasionally you just gotta have some fun. But these people getting deported, and this is what these people will run their kids out. You'll have these parents. I see pregnant women. I see people with kids, and they're using their kids as human shields. Understand this. If your parents are doing that to you, they are shitty parents. Someone needs to call CPS. But wait, CPS is a leftist-style government agency as well. So you have a leftist-style bunch of protest movement. You got a leftist-style CPS. You got a leftist-style public education system. No wonder CPS hasn't been called on your public schools that are marching their kids out there to be used as human shields. Lord knows they're not there to educate them. It's basically a glorified daycare that passes kids year after year, and then hopefully they get to scam you in college. The system was designed, and it is working successfully. It was designed to fail you. This is why I support groups of people coming together, whether it's homeschooling or, a group of parents coming together. It's kind of like, you see old school families. I've seen this with First Nations groups where they go out there and they got, the grandparents, teaching the ways of their people, the language and whatnot, to the kids, so that the grandparents are actually watching the kids while both parents work, and they're educating. Why can't we go back to that if you choose to? If you want to continue to be in the public school system, as Limbaugh would say, you want to continue to be in that system. Okay, throw your kids into that fucking meat grinder, but don't bitch about the results. We all know how the sausage is made now. It ain't no secret what these school systems are. They're nothing more than glorified daycares. So they can have you, mama, and papa out there working even more. That's it. That's all it is. And that's all it's been in my whole fucking life. Like, I'm 45 years old, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, it wasn't a good system when I was in it, but now it's worse. And they care so much about the health and safety of the children that what do they do? What do they do? Kids, let's go out and protest. What the hell does that protest have to do with mathematics, reading, science? What the fuck does it have to? Well, it's critical thinking. No. Don't try to hide behind the term critical thinking. No, you're using these kids as human shields because you're hoping this is what a lot of your Democrat activists are doing. And I bet when more of these secret, these chats that are going behind these people, basically these people are acting like terrorists and they're communicating in dark formats. So they think they're not getting caught, but you guys have been infiltrated already. Somebody said, okay, we got to get the kids out there because if one of these kids gets hit with a pepper ball or, God forbid, and they're probably salivating. If one of these kids dies at the protest, they will use the dead body to move their movement forward. What do they do with Renee Good? Renee Good, by the way, do you notice people aren't trying to run over police and ICE officers now? Ever since Renee Good got pop, pop, pop. Renee Good gets good in the ground because she's a dumbass bitch, tried to run over an officer. And they're like, oh my God, she was just a mother. She was just no, she was a fucking jackass. And then you have that nurse guy who hadn't been a nurse in ages, but they show a picture. They doctored the photo. They used AI materials to make him look better than he did. You look at some of the videos where that guy's going out there and he's like kicking police cars and doing all sorts of crazy shit. He's acting a fool, and then he gets shot because he's trying to reach for his gun or some other nonsense like that. And they're trying to ride his body as well. You got Renee Good. There's another dead body surfboard. You got this healthcare guy, dead body surfboard. What makes you think they wouldn't use a dead body of a child? Why do you think so many of the protesters are taking their children? Why do you think pregnant women are out there? They are such zealots. And this is all they have, man. This is all these people have. It's like fanatical religious people, except for it's politics. And a lot of these people, they were failed from the very beginning. You had an education system that uneducated them, left them pretty much needy and helpless. How many of these people are on Section 8? Food stamps. How many of these people are like, retirees from the burbs that are on Social Security? These are people that were raised to be fucking failures. They fear the idea, if maybe, wild thought here, if the politics shift another way in their state, they might lose some benefits. Some of these people are looking at this down the road. A lot of these so-called anarchists, I got buddies who fake crazy. You got these people going like, I have the ahutahas, and they get a check from the government. Do you think they don't think in the back of their head, if these benefits dry up, I'll have to get a job, and that'll suck? These people are putting everything on the line because, and there's a lot of them where they're like, yeah, man, if some of it's just purely for the lulz. It's purely for the, how they enjoy being an activist. Some of the guys are out there because their girlfriend or their friend, the female friend, is an activist. They're like, hey, man, I want some of that activist pussy. So they're like, yeah, babe, whatever. Yeah, whatever the cause is. But there's a lot of these people that their school systems completely failed to educate them and have them in a decent trade. They told them, you can be anything you want. And they told them all that crap for a bunch of years. And then these kids, some of these people are college students or former college students, and they get out and it turns out getting a degree in something that's not useful to anybody in the world, other than maybe your own personal pleasure, was not going to get you a job. So then they're out there pissed off. Some of these people are they work a government job. And therefore they're thinking to themselves, if this funding ceases to be a thing, I'm going to be unemployed. So they got a direct money mattered ways, whether it's welfare or government employees, reason to be out there because they don't want to see the system change, because your freedom means that they're going to have to get a job. Your enslavement is their freedom. You being a hardworking, tax-paying, productive person keeps their system going. And then when people start seeing maybe that shit might just end, maybe we'll start cutting the budget, trimming the fat, probably. And by the way, why would these people, by the way, these people are ideologically captured. Why are these people out there fighting to protect foreigners that have been scamming your system, whether it's Somali or some people over, in LA that are like from Armenian or something? Or why are these people fighting to protect organized crime? Think about that for a second. Why are they willing to walk their children out there? Put their children in harm's way for a fucking protest to protect organized crime. Because that's why this is happening. You notice it seems like every time the organized crime gets revealed in these states, that's when the ICE protests happen. You got ICE protests happening all over the rest of the country and things are going just fine. But in these particular pockets where the fraud has been revealed, they're using the ICE protest as a distraction from the corruption. You are useful fucking idiots, and you're willing to sacrifice your children and yourselves at these altars. Now, it's fucked up enough, and CPS should have been called on these parents that are doing it. But when your public schools are marching their kids out, because these people understand that they've done a shitty job educating people for the last 3 generations. These are the same people that say, if you educate your kids at home, they won't get as quality of an education. Well, what are you teaching your kids at home that you didn't learn in high school? Think about that for a second. The people who educated you are now admitting you're not educated enough, even though we graduated you from our system that was supposed to educate you. They are saying that you are not educated enough. They are admitting they didn't educate you. They probably didn't educate your grandparents either. So you're too dumb to educate your children. You're trusting that the same people who failed you and failed your parents and maybe another generation aren't going to fail your children. They don't care about your children. They care about the government money keeping the school system operation. It is basically, the school system is a daycare system. So both parents can go to work, so the powers that be can ask more for rent, more for the housing. Like, imagine for a second someone did the hero's journey, went out there, did, retirement by 30. Driving truck, doing the trades, living as cheap as possible. I don't care whether it's van life, living in the truck, or, you live in a share room with some people. Maybe you even still live with your parents, but you're saving up money and you go to some other part of the country and you pay cash for a house. There are tons of houses in the Midwest. You can get anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. You roll into a lot of those small towns at $150,000, you're getting a nice place. Now imagine you were becoming a plumber or electrician when you're younger, and you're self-sufficient. You've got your house paid off. You may even have a second house you have as a rental. Effectively, you don't need your wife to go to work. You could even have a situation where you could take care of some of the elders of your family. So if your wife wanted to work part-time, the elders could be educating the children. You are self-sufficient. You are better off. You are doing far better than the vast majority of people because of your own effort. Now, someone like that is a threat to the system because they don't need the handouts. They don't need to beg for crumbs. And you want proof of begging for crumbs? What I have just described as far as the failure of the education of your grandparents, your parents, and then they want to educate your children, go to any inner city. Go to a lot of rural places that are heavily Democrat. Go look at the testing scores. Go look at the math scores. These people are admitting they're complete fucking failures. So at that point, if these people don't care about their mandated stated objective, which is education, why would they give a shit about throwing your kid under the bus for a protest movement? Oh, sure, it's an acceptable loss. And they understand that the school system would get sued. But is that dead body politically more valuable than how many millions of dollars? How many millions of dollars have been taken out in fraud in the last X amount of while and a half? And by the way, if any of you want to subscribe, I appreciate the likes. But how many millions of dollars have been taken out in fraud? By the way, the minute I say that, the numbers go down. Robot, no like when you say subscribe. Fucking funny, right? How many millions of dollars have millions, if not millions, let's be honest, billions of dollars have been screwed over with the Somali fraud? Go to Maine, you're seeing the same thing. Go to Illinois. Go to any blue city and you are seeing the same thing. Blue state, you're seeing the same thing. How much is that dead body of that child worth? It's just a good investment. So we lost this much because of a lawsuit. But that dead body cost us to swing a couple elections. They're riding dead bodies like surfboards to success. You are a disposable, useful idiot in their eyes. And these people are in charge of educating your children. Dead body surfboards, brothers. It's all the fame. It's all popular. These people failed your parents, failed your grandparents, and they're going to fail your children. That is the facts. Why would they care about what happens to your kids? And if they got to lose a few $1 million, what does that even matter? If it manages to get a Democrat elected in certain key places, and that election basically allows them to swing the presidency and then basically control the Supreme Court, it's worth it. If you don't believe me, look at how much money they pissed away during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. How much money, how many lives got pissed away? I'm not saying both parties are fucking shit. Let's just be honest about that. There was never a drone strike Obama didn't love. We can all talk about Bush, and yeah, Bush was evil. Most people think he was an idiot, but he was evil. But Obama never saw a drone strike he didn't like. For political reasons, what makes you think they wouldn't dispose of you and your children the same way they were more than willing to do with people in the third world and soldiers that were sent there? This is why I got such a problem with these fucking teachers. And if CPS, if we're being honest about it, CPS is a leftist style government organization. And that's a lot of the reason you will not see CPS called in to call these people to task. All these parents that are marching their kids out there, and then even worse, you trust your kids in a public school system, and your kids are basically being forced to go out there. And if you don't believe it's forced, let me throw this out to you. Do you think, just like in a university, that if you say, no, I'm not participating in this, that teacher with their body and their emotions don't have that thought? Oh shit, that kid resisted what I told them to do. You don't think that affects their grades? So basically your kids are forced to go and do these protests. If these teachers do it, these teachers should be fucking taken out and imprisoned for child endangerment. If one parent doing some fuck shit in their own household will get them thrown behind bars, when you have a whole ass class and a whole ass student body from a high school, a middle school, even elementaries, man. Let's just be honest then. How many years should that person get for putting those kids in danger? But all of it is to get that perfect photo of a dead child. So they can try to use that politically. How a few $1 million, a handful of multiple, like say they get $15 million for a dead child. That's still a small price to pay for taking back the power. The Democrats care more about winning elections than they care about whether your child's alive or dead. You want to see proof of that? Look what they're doing in the streets. Just saying. And an individual said this, I'll close it with this. TFM said ages ago, when the Democrats win, they rot the system from within. You saw that clearly with Biden and Obama. Obama couldn't stop nominating leftist judges into the middle rung courts. When they can get the Supreme Court, they do that. They use activism and whatnot to rot the country. But when Republicans win, then they send their foot soldiers, their toadies out. And that is exactly what you're seeing with all these protests. When they win, they rot the country from within. And that's how you got all these activist judges, activist DAs that set up to where crime is not punished. It's a plan. When they lose, then they use that infrastructure that they slowly made with the court system to basically, when their people get caught burning shit down, protesting, as they like to call it. Yeah, because burning a cop car is protesting. Totally. Breaking city, windows on businesses. Like, you got to board up your freaking business to avoid having to replace your windows type of shit. And then when these people get caught, they let them go. They build the infrastructure to let their foot soldiers go. But when they lose, they throw a temper tantrum and try to burn shit down. That is your Democrat Party. If they win, they rot it from within. And if they lose, they throw a temper tantrum and try to burn everything down. Now, here's the real question maybe for another day. When the hell are the Republicans going to wake up and finally give a justified spanking to all these fucking temper tantrum adult children? And like I've said before, we need to bring Singapore-style caning to America. It's time the Democrats get a justified fucking spanking for the childish-ass behavior they've been doing for years. It's ridiculous that we, the people, have to live in a world where they're burning it down semi-regularly because they lost an election. Just saying. Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Peace.